Okay, g'day team. Hope you're all doing pretty well. Exercise physiology assignments, well done to the vast majority of us for getting those in, so good job. Just going to go through this bushwalking assignment. I know we've been through some parts of it as an entire class, there's other parts we've been through as part of a class, but just to sort of help you out, okay? Just going to walk through it the same way we would as we were in class. So, first part there, I think most of you probably would have finished this question already, and that's okay. Question 1, research the details and history of the park. So, map showing the location. So, something you might want to do is, you might want to include maybe 2 maps. It might be one showing, the map of South Australia. Sorry to get us, there we are. Right. You might put a map of South Australia in there. If you're going to put a diagram in, what do? You always make sure you label it. So it would be put in there, figure 1, map of da-da-da-da. What you then might do is include a second map, which might actually be the bigger map of the park, showing all the various walks. Again, making sure we label it. What you're trying to do is just inform the reader. So you've got to assume whoever's reading it doesn't actually know where the national park is, okay? Other things we're looking at, date it was open, size of the park, flora and fauna. In other words, plants and animals. Now, you can go about that a few ways. You could basically go, there's going to be kangaroos and there's going to be emus. Cool. You're telling me there's only 2 animals in the park? There's going to be gum trees. So just going 2 or 3 plants or animals is probably not a lot. I know what I'll do instead. What I'll do is, I'll copy and paste off wherever I find it on Google, a list of 30, 40 different plants. That doesn't show you that you know a lot, it shows you know how to copy and paste, right? But when we go back to the assessment, right, and we're looking at the appropriate history of the park, right, high level understanding is A, all right, strong, sound, some. Copy and pasting 50, 60 different varieties of plants isn't necessarily showing a high level. How could I go showing a high level? I might go, okay, what are the main plants? All right? I'm not going to limit to a certain number, but it might be a case of what are the majority of plants I'll see. It's going to be this and this variety of this. There'll also be this plant and this plant. What else could I do to show a high level? Hey, you might not have been to this park. Maybe someone else hasn't been. So how else can I show a high level? Maybe I include a picture. And again, I label that diagram. So now all of a sudden, rather than copying and pasting just 20, 30, what I might do is I might have 10, 12, 15 plants, have a diagram, have it labelled, and that's showing probably a higher level of understanding. Doing the same with animals because it is flora and fauna. Number of visitors per year. Okay, how many people are visiting the park? And demographic. Demographic simply refers to the group. What sort of groups? All right. So if I say what's the demographic of this classroom, I'm probably referring to 15, 16-year-old boys and girls. All right. Demographic simply refers to what age, where are they from, what sort of income, these sorts of things. So, question 1 is just giving some information about the park. As I said, I think most of us have probably done that already. If not, there's a couple of little helpers, points that might enable you to write a better response. Question 2. Trip preparation is essential to ensure you have the correct equipment to stay safe. Write a list of everything you carried in your rucksack, including a brief explanation of why you took this item. So in other words, let's imagine we are going, what am I packing? What am I packing? Now, when it comes to packing, there are some things you'd think about. You'd think about, okay, sleeping. Well, what do I need for sleeping? Well, I'm probably going to try and take a pillow. Okay, good luck to you if you can fit that in, no worries. I'm going to take a sleeping bag. What else am I going to need? Sleeping mat. Then you start going, is that everything I've got? Okay, not a problem. Well, what about hygiene? Not that that's important in this current climate. What am I going to take for hygiene? Maybe I'm going to take some deodorant. That's a D. Maybe I'm going to take a toothbrush. toothpaste. So you can start to see I'm really breaking down every aspect of what it is I'd be taking. Hygiene, eating. What am I going to need for eating? Not food, because we talk about that later on in our food menu, but what equipment am I going to need? So for eating, then there's also for cleaning. What am I going to need? What about for walking? What clothes am I going to wear? What about at night time? What am I going to need? What's the difference between night time and daytime? Hey, a fair difference in temperature. So maybe it's a case of I need some different things that I wouldn't need for walking. Might be a beanie, might be a head torch, these sorts of things. Right? So you've got to go through and work out exactly what it is I'm taking. Clothes. So I've given you a few little pointers there in terms of in the red text. Trip preparation is essential to ensure you have the correct equipment and stay safe. Write a list of everything. So that's what we're working on here. We're writing that list of everything, including a brief explanation. So a brief explanation is, as the word suggests, brief. It doesn't have to be long. So why am I taking a sleeping bag? Why am I taking a sleeping bag? Keep me warm. That's why I take a sleeping bag. Right? It's not necessarily for comfort. It doesn't provide a massive amount of comfort. It is there to keep me warm. Right? Sleeping mat. Why am I taking that? Now that's for comfort. To keep me off the ground. What's the other advantage of staying off the ground? Again, warmth. So it doesn't have to be a big explanation. It is just, as the word suggests, a brief explanation. Okay? Question 3. Include a copy of the route card you've developed, ensuring it has all the following features. Now that I've been through in more depth in another YouTube video. So if you've managed to find this video, same channel, you'll be able to find some details about that. In terms of working out your coordinates, you can easily do that because I've uploaded a map through the day map page. So you can get that off there. You can still plan the route. All right, so you can do the coordinates. All right, you can do distance. You can work that out. You can do the time, how long it'll take me, what feature I'm going for at notes. That's the only one I'm going to struggle with, the bearing, given the fact that I don't have a compass. All right? If you do have a compass, not a problem, go ahead and do that. So that's the only one you might be struggling with. Mr. Driver, am I going to lose marks by not having that? No, you're not going to lose marks. And if you look at it in context, 6 questions in this assignment, even if you just look at it here, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 aspects to that question. You're missing 1/7 of 1/6, okay? So, no, you're not going to lose marks by not having that, but you can certainly complete the other aspects. All right? Question 4. Include a meal table that has all the items you bought. Ensure you include breakfast, lunch, tea and drinks. So, if I'm doing a meal table, the way I'd be looking at it is if we're going on a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, we've got breakfast, right? We've got lunch, we've got tea, and we've got scroggin. If I'm looking at my meal table like that, I'm then going, okay, our first day we go away, what am I going to have for breakfast? Well, I'm going to have that at home. So suddenly that becomes irrelevant. What am I going to have for lunch on that one? Packed at home. So you can start to see my meal tables filling in very, very quickly. What about Wednesday, the day we leave? Lunch, we'll get that on the way home. Tea, I'll have that at home. So you can start to see, right, I don't have too much that I've actually got to plan. So what do I have to plan? I've got to plan 1, 2 teas, right? 1 lunch, 1, 2 breakfast. Right? That's the main meals that I've got to plan. Now within this, what I need to do is I need to include all items I brought. So for example, my breakfast is like most people, the same every day. I'm going to have my wheat bix. So if I'm writing out my meal plan, what am I going to do for Tuesday breakfast? I'm going to do wheat bix. 5 times wheat bix. Right? Now what I'll do is actually do that up here a bit bigger for you so you can actually see. 5 times wheat bix. That's what I'm going to have. Now, include a meal table that has all items. All items. Is that all I need for breakfast? No. What else do I need? I need milk. Now, how am I going to have milk? I can have it in the form of long life milk. Right, the little cartons that are just on the shelf, don't need refrigerating. or I can have it in the form of powdered milk, which is generally what I go with. And what I'll do is I'll put in my 250 grams powdered milk. What am I going to mix it with? Water. So I need 700 mils water. Mr. Driver, how do you know the numbers? Okay, I've done this a couple of times, all right? So if it was you doing that, you might simply just put powdered milk. No worries, I can live with that, all right? What else do I need? All items. Have I got everything I need for breakfast? How am I going to eat it? I'm going to eat it in my Trangia bowl, so I don't need to put bowl, but what I do need to put up there is spoon. And once I've eaten, what's the next step? Bit of cleanup. Cleanup happening. So I'm going to need steel wool, and then I'm also going to need tea towel. So all of that would become, get rid of that little one there, all of that would go into there. And there's 1 meal plan for me. Right? But the easy thing for me, like I said, most people for breakfast have the same thing. So what can I do with that over here? Copy, paste, beautiful. So what I've basically done now is got all my breakfast sorted. Hey, Wednesday's done. Now it's just a matter of working out what am I going to have for tea. Now, I want you to plan some creative meals because this is where you could lose marks. If you're simply just going to say for tea, I'm having 2-minute noodles. 2-minute noodles. What that is, that's a cop-out. Right? You don't have to actually cook it at this point in time. You need to plan it. So just putting 2-minute noodles, 2-minute noodles, you're trying to make it easy on yourself. And if we then go back up the top here and look at the assessment, when it comes to planning and preparation and things like that, is it a high level just to say, hey, 2 minutes, 2-minute noodles? High level capacity to plan appropriate nutritionist meals. 2-minute noodles is not what I'll just say is a nutritional meal. High level, strong level, sound, some. You just write 2-minute noodles, you'd be getting a D, I would have thought, because that shows some planning. Right? Whereas you go, you know what, I want to show a high level. Well, okay, what can we actually cook? Things that get cooked quite often, little pizzas. Right? You've got a little stove burner, pizzas can work. Pastas work fine. Right? Not a problem with pastas. Hey, driver, isn't 2-minute noodles pasta? No, I'm talking in terms of a proper pasta, like a spaghetti bolognese or a carbonara. All right? Gyros get done from time to time. They're fairly well. Things like rice with curry, stir fries, those sorts of things. Right? All very easy to cook up. And certainly show a higher level than 2-minute noodles. Okay? So bear that in mind when it comes to your planning. That's where you could lose some marks. Mr. Driver, what's this weird word down the end here? Scroggin. Scroggin, quite simply, snacks. One of the most important things when you're bushwalking is to have breaks, rest, recover. And that's what we'll do. 20, 30 minutes, we'll have what we call a scroggin break. So what would you include in scroggin? It depends on the sort of person you are. If you're one of these people that likes your nuts, great. Throw some nuts in. Muesli bars, little chocolate bars, lollies, things like that. It's just high energy snacks to give us that energy. Very easy to eat. Minimal packaging is generally a good thing as well. Okay, so you'd make a list of what you'd take for scroggin as well. So your normal day would be breakfast. You'd have 2 or 3 scroggin breaks before lunch, and then you'd have 2 or 3 scroggin breaks before tea. Right, so going back to the question, include a meal table. That's what we've got over there. Has all the items. As you can see, I've demonstrated one. Beautiful. What have we then got? Question 5. Many potential risks that could occur during a bushwalk. Identify the 5 greatest risks that are most likely to occur. List these 5 in a table. Identify the risk, causation factor, chances of risk occurring, outcome if risk were to take place, and what can be done to minimise the risk. So, you're going on a bushwalk. The question you ask is, what are some potential risks? Right? And someone's going to go straight away, oh, getting lost. Okay, sure. Getting lost is a risk. Now, we then just go, okay, let's say we go with that one. Getting lost. Causation. Causation, as the word sort of looks like, cause. What's the cause of it? So what's the cause of getting lost? And there might be more than one reason. It might be not paying attention. It might be you're not paying attention. It might be you're not prepared. You don't have a map. Right? Could be something like that. You then say, well, okay, what's the likelihood? What's the likelihood of us getting lost? Now, how do we describe likelihood? We could use words such as highly likely, likely, some chance, unlikely. Right? You could do a number rating if you really wanted to, 1 to 10, 10 being a very likely chance. What's the chance of us getting lost? The likelihood? Unlikely. Unlikely to likely. Hey driver, can I do that? Can I do the each way, the split? Yeah, no dramas. I've got no problem if you want to say, hey, look, it's unlikely to likely. All right. What's the outcome? Okay, the outcome would be, and again, there might be multiple. You'd get lost. Spend the night in the bush. What's the other possible outcome of getting lost? Get home late. Now, someone's going to be sitting there going, oh, we could die. Okay, let's settle down. All right. There's a few steps we'd probably have to go to. Let's just paint the most logical picture. So what's the most logical picture to us getting lost? Well, us not paying attention or not knowing where we're going. Yeah. Is that likely? Oh, it's likely to unlikely. What's the outcome if you do get lost? Chances are you're going to have to spend the day in the bush. You're going to have to do a bit more walking. All right. How do we minimise that? Well, one, pay attention. You can see I'm basically coming back here. What's causing it? So how can I minimise it? Pay attention. Plan route card, which is what we've got up there. Check route card. So in other words, if we've got our route card and we check it regularly, right, suddenly this becomes less of a chance to happen. Okay. So what you'd go through is there are many potential factors. What are we doing? Identifying the 5 greatest. So getting lost, maybe it is one of the 5. You might argue maybe it's not. All right. But I said let's go with the most likely and let's be logical about it. You know, being attacked by bears, not really logical. All right. So have a go at that. We should be okay. And then the last one, using the risk identified in this question, outline the first aid and strategies you would implement in the above situations were to occur. Okay. Remember, ensure safety and the risk of the individuals. So in other words, based on these risks we've identified, if they were to come through, right, what first aid strategies could we put in place? Now you might go, hang on driver, that kid's got lost. We've got lost. That's the risk we've identified. What first aid do we actually need? Well, I don't need any at this point. Okay, identify that. Say, no first aid would be needed. However, let's go over here. Get lost, spend the night in the bush. What's the risk of spending the night in the bush? What's suddenly a risk that could happen as a result of spending the night in the bush? And some of you are going to say, oh, you get cold. Okay. Whereas is known for being a little bit cold. Okay. So suddenly, we're out in the bush at night getting cold. What is something that could happen? Some of you would straight away be going, hypothermia. Hypothermia, in other words, we get too cold, our body starts to shut down. Okay, great. You've identified what could happen as a result of this. So the question then says, using the risk identified, and forgive me for a moment, I'll just rub that out just so you can actually see. Using the risk identified, outline your first aid and strategies you would implement if the above situations were to occur. So in other words, that person's been out in the bush overnight, you find them, you think maybe they're suffering from hypothermia, you'd identify that in the question. Right? As a result of spending a night in the bush, the person could be cold. As a result of being cold, hypothermia would be a risk. First aid treatment I would apply would be, and you would do the research for that. Okay? So, for your 5 factors there, you're doing a little bit of research to find out what first aid would be applied. So there's always a first aid that could be applied based on that situation playing out. Okay? So hopefully that's clarified a few questions, or if nothing else, helped you out a bit. And if we then come up here and just have a look at the assessment. So that's selecting your clothing. Right? That's all that here. That's planning your meals. That's over there. Identify the major risks. So that was that question 5. Plan and evaluate possible strategies for dealing with it. All of a sudden, question 6. Right? Demographic, providing reasoning, researching the park. That's very much that question 1. That's your route card. Right? And your attitude towards. So in terms of what we're looking at here for our assignment, so the key word being high level. Right? High level. So make sure we're explaining things. Right? Over here, to demonstrate a high level, you would give a good explanation. Again, it only has to be brief. High level doesn't mean more words. High level just means, hey, I'm saying something intelligent with minimal words. Right? So you've got the assessment there. Hopefully that's enough to get you all sorted. Any dramas, get in touch with me. Otherwise, thanks team.